pigs tonight, so.
Oh, you know, I never thought of that. That's probably where people should get it up. This is doing pigs.
Be careful. Said his teacher was trying to inform him about what they should be doing. I said, I'll tell you what to do. Either come with me or you watch it on me. So, but anyway, at some point, just need a couple minutes to kind of fill you in on big picture things.
Okay.
So, and you can tell me that you can't comment, which would be fine. Just big picture stuff. So.
I would love that. You know that. I like to talk to you.
Thank you.
I scheduled my meeting
Oh, you did good. I was going to ask you how it's going.
for the Tuesday before Tuesday of Thanksgiving week.
Okay. Mine's okay. It's I don't think I can tell you to do the exercises they tell you.
Okay.
I admittedly didn't do all of them. I'm like, ooh. But I was running a little bit, moving. Not running, but moving yesterday. The funds was on Wednesday, so.
Good God, man.
No, it's been a long year. Where am I there? Oh boy. Oh boy. How are you, sir?
Great.
This is okay if I sit next to him? Well, you don't like me anymore. Rick's here. You don't talk to me anymore. It's all right. Oh, my friend, how are you? Good. I'm so happy with all those.
I saw that. Yes.
Kids playing football. Making my old bumpy heart swell.
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Skins are in first, right?
Hell yeah. They're
yeah.
strong 2 and 5.
Look good yesterday.
Who they beat? The Cowboys, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 20 to 3 or something.
Oh, got it.
Pounding defeat. They got that Super Bowl look. Good stuff.
David.
Hello.
The NFC East.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
Get started in just a minute.
We're live streaming already.
Yesterday for politics and government.
Susan, it's in my coat, my pocket here.
Perfect.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance in a second. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome everyone here and in virtual land. Let me just get my papers in order. We're going to start with the hearing and privilege of the floor, extended to anyone who's in person tonight that would like to address the board. Please just state your name and
Chris O'Neill, 133 Saratoga Road, Glenville. Since the first quarter of the school year is almost over, I would look forward to hearing about the status of COVID cases and quarantines for the district and the status of clubs, particularly middle school, recognizing that some clubs are more amenable to Zoom meetings or Google Classroom virtual gatherings. Thank you.
Mr. Arnold, could you just mention the first thing you said? I'm sorry, I missed it.
The status of COVID cases and quarantines.
Thank you, thank you.
For the district. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about it? You're going to? Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to move then to the superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Dave. First of all, I left little gifts at your places tonight. This is the tail end of School Board Member Recognition Week. I know these are very glamorous jobs, and I truly appreciate you taking them on. So you have your plaque for your service, and then in that bag are some what I would call COVID supplies. I think that's what I'd call them. For each of you, feel free to look now if you'd like, or to take them home, but certainly I'm not opposed to having you look at what we did for you this year. All kidding aside, serving on a school board is sometimes a thankless job. And I think that at times folks believe that school board members have a magic wand that they can wave and that things will happen and get done. Sometimes I think when people run for school board, they think that's what happens. And then you get on a school board and realize that a lot of this is very nitty-gritty, higher level, that helicopter view and oversight of what school districts do. So I appreciate the time and the commitment and the fact that folks continue to come even under these interesting circumstances. But I want you to know I am truly grateful for each and every one of you and the work that you do to keep our kids and our families, our staff, and me moving forward during this difficult time. So I hope you enjoy what you've got there.
Thank you.
Wear your lapel pins proudly.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the COVID dashboard, which you can access off the school district's website. There is a link to it. And then when you click that link, it takes you to a page, and it says right at the top of that page, COVID dashboard. And the dashboard is actually a creation of the New York State Department of Health. It's where I track daily, Monday through Friday, the number of students in school, the number of students learning virtually, the number of staff in school, the number of staff virtual, the number of teachers in school, and the number of teachers virtual. And then how many individuals, students, teachers, and other staff are referred out of school for, to see their health care provider. So I had a question from a parent in the district who's been watching our dashboard because we have had no cases. But if you look at our dashboard right now, it says there is one student who's identified, one case identified because of the address. By address, they mean the zip code. So one of the things I've discovered in talking to my colleagues is that if you share your zip code with other school districts, sometimes students are not actually in your school district who end up on your dashboard. They end up there because of their zip code. So for example, Waterville students ended up on North Colony's dashboard. I don't really know whether the student or the individual on our dashboard is ours. They're not assigned to a school here. They could be younger than school age. They could be, I don't know, I guess older than 16. I'm not quite sure how they're determining who a student would be. But it looks a little misleading because I say we don't have any cases, and on the dashboard it says there's a person in our region. So I would want you to know that in order for me to report someone to the Department of Health in my daily reporting, I would either need to be contacted, most likely by Schenectady County Public Health, and told we had a positive case, or one of our nurses would report to me that we had a positive case, at which point I would contact Schenectady County Public Health. But the fact that we send students or staff home because of a symptom does not mean that they are going to show up on our dashboard. So I want to caution you as you look at the dashboard about how that works. One of the other things they're attempting to do now is to work on these microclusters. So Governor Cuomo has been talking about microclusters, and he talks about yellow zones, yellow zones, orange zones, and red zones. And if you were to look at the Broome County area, so southern downstate New York, you would see that they had a red microcluster, schools there. Now, part of the confusion about this microclustering is that, in theory, if you become a yellow zone, which means there is some microclustering, but not enough to shut you down, currently 20% of the students and staff in your schools would have to be tested once a week in order to keep your doors open. And when I inquired last week at the health department, who would be doing that testing, the current thinking is school districts would be doing that testing. And I can tell you we're not in a position to test anybody for COVID or anything else. So as you know, we've taken a regional approach to most of these things. So presently in the region, what we're talking about, so the 24 schools in our region, is that if we ever became a yellow zone, we would most likely have to go virtual because none of us can figure out how we would be testing 20% of our kids and staff on a weekly basis. Who would do that? Where we'd get the tests from? How that would even work? We just can't quite wrap our arms around. And that might change as more information becomes available to us. I would also share with you that originally in our plan, following DOH guidance, if a child or a staff member had even one COVID symptom, we would send you home to see your health care provider, and you would need a COVID test negative and resolution of your symptoms before you could return to school. However, That guidance was changed by the Department of Health, and now, although we still have to send you home if it's the first time you've had the symptom at school, your health care provider determines whether or not you need a COVID test or whether you qualify for what's called an alternative diagnosis. However, you can't get the alternative diagnosis option the first time you're sent home. The first time always has to be to your healthcare provider, and the recommendation is the COVID test. But let's say I have allergies. So I get sent home once because I've got a runny nose. I see my healthcare provider, I have a COVID test, I'm negative. My healthcare provider can then give me a note from my school and again, this is staff or students, that says, Susan has allergies and a runny nose is not atypical for her and not related to COVID. And then I wouldn't have to go through this every time. But that is a change, the or part from everyone must have a COVID test. I hope that made some sense to folks. So again, information about the district is on our COVID dashboard. That's how we're presently handling students who may have a symptom. We're also not sending siblings home anymore. So unless that child eventually tests positive, at which point siblings would be excluded. But given the very low rate of transmission, particularly in schools, there are about 135,000 students in the capital region, in the 24 districts in the capital region. The infection rate for those students is currently sitting at 0.008, so even lower than the state average. And when you think about it, it actually makes some sense because we're doing this with kids all day long on our buses, masked. So we are working very diligently to keep those numbers down. Schools are safe places. All right. I've also had some questions about winter athletics, basketball, and that type of thing. I want to tell you that we are currently working, again, as a region, except this time, my region is the Foothills region. So although we often think about Suburban Council, because that's who we're located closest to, Suburban Council is not our league. Foothills is our league. And we do that, our decision-making together as Foothills. We're currently waiting for the governor to give us guidance, as he did about fall sports, about winter sports. At least one school in Foothills has decided that they will only offer alpine and Nordic skiing in winter, no other sports indoors.
No.
None. So we will have to see what happens when we have some additional guidance. In the meantime, I have asked Mr. Giaquinto and Mr. Rockhill to work together to see if there is some way to start opening gyms immediately after school, about 2:30, done by, I think, about 6 o'clock. Maybe, Drew,
Actually, 4:30.
4:30, for conditioning for some of our athletes. So we're going to see if we can do that and still maintain our cleaning regimen. But at this point, I don't know what's going to happen to sports. I'm waiting on the governor and NISFA to give us some guidance. And finally, there has been some question about should we have another town hall? I would be certainly open to doing that. I can certainly share some of the things I just shared with you in a town hall. But I would want to be sure, if we were going to plan a town hall, that I understood very clearly what it is you would expect to gain from a town hall, what your burning questions are. So if that's something the board wishes to do, at some point, we should have that discussion. I don't want to have a town hall just for the sake of having a town hall. I think we have to have a direction and a purpose. And again, although there have been some changes to the guidance and some changes certainly to our procedures as a school, I'd want to talk about that further. And finally, as I wrap up, thank you again for your board service. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. So I had asked Susan to address the town hall because there's been conversation around that. So we, you know, the thought I had with it was that we would do an update. So we'd have an update and then we would.
I'm deaf in my right ear.
Oh,
I can't hear anything anybody's saying. So I'm just gonna sit down here.
sure, I'll wait till you get down there. You can't hear real well down there? How about now? Okay. So maybe we can think about like some questions we think would be nice to have answered. We probably wouldn't do this sometime in November. So if we come, we'll put this as an agenda item on our next board meeting. People can come with some ideas and thoughts. Sound okay to everyone? Sort of a straw. Good. Thank you. Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome, Dave.
Next on our agenda is a discussion of the items not included in the capital project. Drew, did you just want to?
Sure. The report that went to the superintendent and shared with the Board of Education displays the items that were on the last building condition survey report that were not addressed in the current $14 million capital project and were left out of this proposed $12.8 million composition. So the report outlines by school what items were left out, the dollar amount associated with the item, and the justification for leaving them there. You'll see it was about $23 million was left out, so we had a $40 million project if in fact we include everything on the building condition survey that was not addressed in the prior capital projects. That is typical in what schools do. Everything on the building condition survey is typically not addressed because of the prioritization and the ticket item with those, associated with those. My objective was to get the items that were necessary to be done and also to maintain zero taxing. That's where the $12.8 million threshold was. Thank you, Dave. I didn't get too close. That was a report that I think you wanted to see. I'll answer the questions to the best that I can on items on the report.
Yeah, Drew, I was just, I had asked the last time, I just want to make sure there weren't any safety items that we weren't able to address,
No.
you know, so, and I see that by looking at the list, that was not the case. Did anybody have any questions?
You're looking for a signature item? You're looking for like a signature item?
No, actually, I knew there would be no signature item. I was more looking to make sure all the safety items that needed to be addressed, we could address.
I start to get concerned, Dave, when we start getting lists like this of stuff that wasn't done in identified in 2016, wasn't
Yeah.
done. Here we are 4 years later, it's identified, you know, and it still hasn't been done. I think we need to seriously think about the possibility of expanding our project to start getting some of these things that need to be done. Because if you keep putting them off, suddenly they become urgent and they become critical and become much more expensive a lot of times to fix or take care of
So Drew, there's no way to add anything and still keep it to a 0?
Now, I will add, that was the process that we worked all summer on with the architects that you saw in the presentation. And our recommendation, there aren't items that are going to at all compromise the health and safety. We've maintained, since I've been here, an $11.9 million project, a $15.04 million project, and then a $14 million project. And we've laid in the $100,000 projects and the energy performance to keep things on a programmatic approach to everything and to keep the taxes at a minimum impact of these. And I think the proof is what we've done. And Pam, I get your concerns, but you've got to trust me that that was the effort that we focused on this with architects and all summer. We're not leaving something out that you see the main roofs are getting addressed. That's a critical thing. Sidewalks, out-of-date air handlers and HVAC units. There's always going to be items for the next project. And I don't think it behooves us to go out with a $40 million project.
Oh, I wasn't saying do the whole $40 million. But I was just,
But we were breaking these up into 2-3 years, and it's been working. That way we keep things current and don't let things,
It scared me when I saw all these items that were 2016, but I, in my own mind, don't think I could possibly go out with a proposition that's going to cost people money this year. But, I'm just one thought, if others have different ones. We'll go around. Dave, what did you think down there? Well, I'm wondering, for us to be adding on anything, the decision's one of two ways. We either replace something that's on here, or we would add it and then have to increase the cost of the project. And I think Drew had said that, correct me if I'm stating this wrong, to add anything on without taking anything off is going to cost an increase in the taxpayer rate.
I think it would be in poor taste to add stuff on, school hospital, working, healthcare problems. I would absolutely not say let's add
I
Kim?
agree. I'm with Dave. It's too much to ask right now to add additional items.
Dan,
No, I would agree.
Pam? Oh, you said your statement.
I'd like to see a little bit more. I'm not talking about 40 million. I'm talking maybe 250,000 or something like that. Just a little bit to start making progress toward getting these things done that have been identified as things that need to be done.
Hal?
I agree with what Drew and the team decided not to do this time, and to hammer away at the critical issues, and it would not be a good idea to go out for much more this time.
Rick, your thought?
I think they put an excellent list together for this go-around, and keeping it tax neutral. I would love to know a little bit more about the fire rating doors, how necessary that is. That's a super safety precaution to push down the line, but I can understand that can probably happen in years to come. But I think it's a great.
Yeah, and I hear
great
Pam,
list.
I mean, some of these we've had on forever, some of these items, and it's, I'm just nervous. This is going to be a very tough year for the budget. It's going to be a very tough year for people paying their taxes. So what would be our next step here? Because I think it was Mr. O'Neill who said the last time, we want to make sure that we have a lot of public facing time this time, which we didn't have when we did the property, and we did have on the last, I think we did really well with the last project.
you give the go-ahead that this is what you want to do, then we come back with the resolution and we start the process of information and things like that.
So,
Last meeting we had with the architects, they presented a timeline, if you refer to that, and Susan can present that in an update information.
so let's put a vote on for next board meeting. Okay? And then we'll have this, if we, folks to think about, and we can vote on it. All right. Now we get into some of the scary things. Next on our agenda is to accept the first fiscal projection for 2021. Drew, thank you for the letter. Is there anything you wanted to clarify?
Thanks, Dave. Susan and Karen hear this every Monday from me, so I apologize to hear it again. But right now, we've got 2 months of the school year in the books, and we have 3 months, July, August, and September of the fiscal year. So what I do is I look at what our in-force staffing, project that out, look at our trend in all our other categories, and also comment to you that state aid runs will be provided probably around Thanksgiving. So what I've shown you on the revenue is that we're going to anticipate writing off the $350,000 that the state owes us from last year. That's in those numbers. That's why you see a deficit revenue versus budget. I'm showing about 3% favorable on expenses, and we need to get to probably 5% to achieve our projected surplus to have fund balance to appropriate for the budget for 2021-22. But in a 1.5-page document, you can see what we've been going through, the unanticipated and PPE, staffing. So it's early on in the process, but I always like to show you where we were a year ago, where we're looking, and we're about $500,000 behind a year ago. I think we can make it up on the expense side. I'm not sure on the revenue side.
Okay. Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to accept the first fiscal projection.
Thank you, Rick. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Hal, second? All in favor of accepting the first fiscal projection?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Next is to approve a classroom rental and ancillary service agreement.
I'll move the board approve classroom rental and ancillary services agreement with BuzzFeed for the 2 classrooms as submitted.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Can we have some discussion?
It's
real quick?
discussion, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is to rent physical space? I know some of it's virtual, but it's also physical space?
It's to rent classrooms for programs for children with special needs. BOCES spreads them out throughout the region because youngsters come from all different schools. So we currently house 2 of their programs here.
So it's continuation, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer it, Rick?
Yeah, perfectly. Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. So moved. Next, number 8.
I'll move that we decrease the unemployment reserve fund as listed.
No, this, the distant learning.
I'll move to approve the distance learning classroom rental agreement with BOCES.
I'll second.
I'll second. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Hal. Any questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Dan?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this. I move that we decrease the unemployment reserve fund as listed.
I'll second.
Thank you. Dan and Rick. Any questions on this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you. Next is a memorandum of agreement between the Scotia-Glenville School District and the Teachers Association. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between Scotia-Glenville Central School District and Scotia-Glenville
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Kim. Any questions on this?
So folks, let me just say a few words. This MOA allows us to move forward with clubs and activities, not athletics, which is a separate item, but clubs and activities, both those that are part of the teachers' union contract, but also those that folks choose to run. For example, it's a bad example, but running club. Running club isn't contractual, but we've had running clubs in the past. So as part of this agreement, because the clubs are meeting virtually, Sarah and I were able to design a form whereby folks submit for the club. They also share how many students will participate, what the days of participation will be, and what activities we would expect to see folks engaging in. So the record-keeping piece of it is a bit greater than it is when we're here and the clubs are meeting in person. But it will give us the kind of audit trail that we need to pass muster with our auditors in June. So I appreciate the association working with me on that, and what this does is codify what the expectations are.
And by looking at the approvals in the staffing, we would know what clubs are being approved.
This time around.
This time, yes.
Yes, we have several in the hopper.
Any questions on this? I'm looking at Dave because I can't hear him down there. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Next is a policy. Can I get a motion to approve a policy?
I'll make a motion to approve the data policy and security memorandum.
Thank you, Rick. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Talbot seconded. Any questions on this? This is our second reading and approval reading, so.
I do have one, and it's very
Yep.
similar to our last meeting, just in the oversight. I know it's a new kind of policy and procedure, but I'm asking again when we can expect to have the annual report.
I got everything but the tail on the
When we would be able to expect an annual report.
Probably this spring. Certainly, there's already information up on the website, which is also where this will be, but we can bring you a summary in the spring.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Is that all the questions? Sounds good. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Okay. I believe this may be our first or second reports of the groups. So let's start with CASPA.
There's been no contact at all from Casper.
They are at least, if nothing else, consistent. Legislation?
I have nothing to report today, Dave. I do not have anything to report today.
Nothing to report. PTA?
Council is not having
Audit Committee?
No update at this time.
Policy Committee? Do we have any on?
You
Nothing.
just approved it.
Pam, anything on the safety?
No, there's nothing.
Dave, nothing? Pam and Dave, nothing. He's down there. All right. In budget, we just had a discussion on. So, okay. Communication.
Staff is 1 through 19, and placement of students with disabilities as submitted.
I'll second.
That's like a guarantee on this one. Okay, just a second. Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. Dave? Questions? No? Good.
There, the one for Dana Brockman, it was dated June 13th, and we're talking about it now. No big deal, just curious why it's 5 months.
What number are you on, Rick?
Oh, I'm sorry, it looks like it's 13C.
Is that the new, that's a change? Rick, can you say that one more time, what it read?
It's, make sure I'm giving you the proper,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
yep, 13C.
Yeah.
Simply,
She's
she's
out
not,
of paid time, Rick.
I'm sorry?
She's out of paid time.
Okay,
So she can extend her leave, but it's unpaid.
okay.
Any other questions?
Good question.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. Budget transfers? July? August? Questions on September? Payroll warrant number 6. Number 7. Number 8. And our big one, number 9. Our check warrants, A10, H5, A12. On which one, Pam?
On A12.
Thank you.
The cash check, how long is that cover, that insurance cover? Is that a year or half a year or?
Monthly premium. Monthly premium. Monthly?
Monthly premium, Pam.
Monthly? Wow. Okay. And went to, Rolage Insurance?
Those are installments. He needs it over 6 installments, I think it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Take my car insurance. Thanks, Pam. H6. If there's no other questions, we'll accept those. Other business. David has our voting totals. I will be returning all the sheets. We only today got the form to actually unlock so I could enter the data. Carol and I had some trouble, so I will return everybody's sheet at the next board meeting. Unless you want me to mail it to you, I can get it to you before the meeting. Who's our alternate?
I am.
I'll email you a copy, Rick, okay?
Okay.
I'll email everybody a copy of the summary. But,
I have a quick question.
yep,
So as we approach the trimester, folks are kind of asking about, you know, how and if folks would start to kind of transfer between hybrid and virtual. How will that be communicated to the community?
Okay, you want to take that?
Sure, I can speak to elementary. I don't have a microphone, so Connor, can you hear me?
why don't you? You want to play some music while you're at it there?
So as Friday we sent out, we opened up the parent portal at elementary. So the parent portal that's been available at middle school and high school
But Karen, it'll be the same for the upper grades, it's just a different portal. Or I mean, they're still gonna go on the portal.
No.
No.
No, at secondary, because we can accommodate returning students, we have room. If you want to come back, the thing we might not be able to accommodate is transportation. But families, we will be out on the website, a letter on the website from me, but families will simply contact the high school or the middle school, some of whom have already done that, and say, we're ready to return. Or, as Karen pointed out, if you want to go virtual, since folks are virtual part of the week anyway, it's a pretty easy move. So the high school and middle school are much less complex than the elementaries.
So they're gonna hear this week
Correct.
what they have to do. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah, that was one. Another question is, how's the cleaning going after school closes? Are the staff able to clean the building in good time and with ease, or has it become troublesome?
You say cleaning, right, Rick?
Yeah, the sanitization of the schools after schools are closing, how's that going?
Drew, do you want to chat about how we're working with cleaning right now?
Thank you, Dan. I think it's in my lapel. Every night we're disinfecting every classroom, bathroom, corridor, gymnasium. And then in between that we're cleaning, and then the disinfectant sprayer comes in behind the cleaner. And every bus is disinfected after it comes back to the bus garage between runs, between elementary school and high school. And then at the end of the day, they're disinfected again. So I would say it's going really well. The PPE management, we have an inventory facility down at Sacandaga Road now. It's got a camera on it. It's got shelving. So we really got a good methodology of looking at our inventory and what we need to order and stay ahead of it. So I think it's going as well as can be expected.
Fantastic. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Just so I know, on behalf of everybody, we'd like to thank Susan for the recognition. If there's no other new business, we will move on to the hearing and privilege of the floor. If there's no other comments for hearing and privilege of the floor, I will take a motion to adjourn unless anyone feels like we need an executive session. So I'll take a motion to adjourn. Al, second. Kim? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to adjourning? Anyone abstaining from adjourning? You can stay. So moved. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We will be, remember, just to set your schedules, we will be coming early on next board meeting for an exec session.
No problem. Yep.